right, welcome to the Young Turks, Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian. Day before Christmas Eve, is that a thing? No, not really, but it's Christmas week. We're having fun,
Are we?
Are we? I think we are. As you're about to see with the Rudy Giuliani interview, lots of fun. And then later in the program, of course, we have news about the presidential candidates as well on the Democratic side. More people looking to shiv Donald Trump politically. Fascinating, probably good news. I have a new strategy for what the Democrats should do with impeachment. When will I throw that in? No one knows.
Probably when we do the impeachment story.
Oh, but that's not a bad guess.
Like in this segment.
Like it could be. Okay, so we'll have to watch and see what happens. In the third hour, we're doing Turks and Jerks today. Oh my God. Okay, we'll get back to that later.
Yes, so a few announcements, and this is the most important announcement that you're gonna hear all day, okay? So you're probably asking yourself, why is Anna wearing a hoodie on the show? Usually she's super professional, she looks like clean and polished. Why does she look like she's laid back today? Well, it's because I feel strongly about this TYT hoodie. This is the best thing that we've ever sold in the TYT store. ShopTYT.com is where you can get it. And it's your lucky day, guys, because if you're interested in thumb holes.
Hello.
Come on.
Thumb holes, everybody.
It has thumb holes. And then this pocket, this one right, no, it's the other one. There it is. This pocket, it has a little pocket inside of the big pocket.
Pockets within pockets, guys.
I love pockets.
No, hashtag pockets within pockets.
Yes.
You're never gonna get this again. Well, what do we got, 30% off?
Yes, no, you guys have to act now. No, this isn't like some cheesy, infomercial. I mean it because we never give discounts like this. 30% off of winter gear, and that includes this awesome hoodie. You just have to use the promo code WINTER30 at checkout. ShopTYT.com to get this awesome hoodie or anything else your heart desires.
In winter gear. So winter is not only coming, it has arrived. Winter 30 is the way to do it. Seriously, it'll take about another year to get discounts this steep. We're giving it away and we'll throw in Ginsu knives. No, we won't. And by the way, she says like, I don't know why you framed it as like, normally I look clean, and what's unclean about a hoodie?
I didn't say clean, don't be a weirdo. No, professional, like come on.
Professional,
because here's what happens. On the rare occasions where I am laid back on the show, and let's say I do wear a TYT shirt or something, we do something in the show that makes the news. And then there's a video of me looking like I rolled out of bed, like all over the internet.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean.
So, did I say clean?
I think you did, yeah. So, but it was about yourself, so it's okay.
Like I meant to say like clean cut, not like
clean cut.
Physically clean. Okay.
Okay. Right. By the way, I love my TYT hoodie. I've had it forever. I wear it on old school all the time. Anyway, so you guys got it. So it's Christmas time. Give yourself a gift or someone else. ShopTYT.com, 30% off. Winter 30. Do it now. Thank you, guys. It is in fact time to panic.
Also, one other quick announcement that's really important. So TYT will not have a live show. The offices will be closed on Christmas Eve, that's tomorrow, and Christmas Day. So on the 24th and 25th, we will not be having a live show, but we pre-produced a bunch of content that will be available for you to watch. So just check that out on tyt.com/live, the usual time you watch the show. Again, it's pre-recorded stuff. I know that a lot of shows actually have today off as well, but Cenk made us come in, so we will be here doing
Christmas,
a show
everybody.
live for you today. So really looking forward to that.
All right, let's do it. So, but it's going to be a great show. That's why we came in.
Yes. All right. So let's get to it. Give me a minute. Rudy Giuliani granted New York Magazine one of his unhinged interviews, and while speaking to Olivia Nuzzi, it appeared as though he might have been under the influence of something. In fact, the report says that when he showed up, he was wearing a suit over a sweater, okay? So over a sweater, he wore a navy blue suit with the fly of his pants unzipped. Which like that doesn't mean he's drunk or anything, right? That happens, right? That's an unfortunate thing that happens to normal people who aren't under the influence of anything.
Okay.
But the rest of the interview gives you the sense that he maybe wasn't in the right state of mind.
Well, when is he ever in the right state of mind? Look, on the characterizations of him, if it was another reporter, I'd be even more skeptical because, as we've learned recently, sometimes sarcasm is not noted. But Olivia Nuzzi is a great reporter. I do trust her, and she does note the sarcasm when it is sarcastic. So when he talks about how he takes drugs, he's being totally sarcastic, and she notes that in the story. So on the other hand, Some of the other things are just physical observations. You can make what you want of that. But I don't want you guys thinking that's the most important part of the story. The quotes stand on their own. It doesn't matter if he was intoxicated or not. The quotes are amazing and ridiculous.
Now remember, Giuliani worked with some shadowy figures in Ukraine who were certainly corrupt, and what they wanted more than anything was to get US Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, fired. And so after claiming US Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch was controlled by billionaire George Soros, Giuliani remarked, "Don't tell me I'm anti-Semitic if I oppose him. Soros is hardly a Jew. I'm more of a Jew than Soros is."
That's like the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. I mean, what, really? I don't think you're allowed to say I'm more of a Jew or more of a fill in the blank than anyone else. And I'm definitely sure you're not allowed to tell people who are Jewish that they're not in fact Jewish. Although on the other hand, a lot of the mainstream media does it to Bernie Sanders. They call him anti-Semitic with a straight face, like even though it's plain insanity. And by the way, some of those same people will say that what Giuliani said today is outrageous. They'll be right about that. And then they'll turn around and do something similar to Bernie Sanders. But anyway, yes, that is insane to say that, but it actually gets more insane on Soros.
Again, going back to the New York Magazine interview with Giuliani, in the grand tradition of Soros conspiracy theorists, Giuliani believes the media is doing the billionaire's bidding by printing lies about him. Yet he often bungles his own attempts to discredit the media's reporting, while attempting to argue that despite what has been written, quote, "I have no business interests in Ukraine," he told me about his business interests in Ukraine.
That's amazing. Now he's a mess, man. I don't know what he's doing, what he's thinking. More on Soros. He says about Soros, he doesn't belong to a synagogue. I don't know how he would know that. Okay, so very likely made that up. He says he doesn't support Israel. He's an enemy of Israel. Absolutely outrageous. That's not remotely true. Soros is not an enemy of Israel. He's Jewish. And because you don't agree with the right wing of America doesn't mean you're an enemy of America. I don't like Dick Cheney or Donald Trump. And yet I am 100% American, as is most of the people in this country. The same with Netanyahu and Likud and etc. Jewish Americans don't have to agree with the right wing in Israel in order to quote unquote love Israel. These are outrageous charges. And then to top it off, he says he's elected 8 anarchist district attorneys in the United States. He's a horrible human being. What are you, anarchist? Okay, look, I get it. There's some district attorneys that actually care about everyone in the community and not just white people, and nothing makes Rudy Giuliani angrier. So yes, they actually believe you should not oppress poor people with things like cash bail, which rich people get out, no problem at all. To them, cash bail is not an issue. So it's not about whether you're guilty or not guilty, it's about whether you're poor or rich. I can go on and on about those things, but they are not anarchists. They're actually, yes, progressive district attorneys who actually care about everyone in the community and not just the powerful and privileged that Rudy Giuliani served when he was mayor and a prosecutor himself. Never cared about the rest of the community, okay? But I'm sorry, there's actually one more level of insanity with Soros and Giuliani. He says that Soros is employing FBI agents. Wow, really? If an outside private interest is employing FBI agents and then they were working for him while pretending to work for the government, that would be one of the largest scandals in American history. What evidence do you have of that, Rudy? Now this is I mean, I don't know, he's got to get sued. Somebody's got to stop this guy from saying madness.
So, I mean, other than just reinforcing what you already knew about Rudy Giuliani, what was the point of this interview? Like, right, I guess we're entertained by it. It's entertaining. I mean, he's a crazy person. He's a lunatic. But like, we already knew that. How many interviews does he need to do?
No way, Anna. No way. Look. The question isn't the interview. The question is what comes as a follow-up to the interview. Because the interview tells you that the president's personal lawyer is a total raving lunatic conspiracy theorist and is deeply troubled person.
Didn't we already know that?
Okay, but that's why I say the follow-up is important. Then all of the Republicans that then back Trump and Giuliani and who say, oh yeah, well, I mean, I hear there's things that are going on in Ukraine. Rudy says so. all of the conspiracies about how Ukraine interfered in elections are coming from Giuliani. So when Jim Jordan or Bill Barr or any of the Republicans repeat it, it is incumbent on the rest of the press to follow up on a story like this and say, you understand that that is the ravings of a lunatic mind, right?
Good luck with that, yeah.
And they're never gonna do it,
No,
that's the problem. Then they take the stuff that Giuliani says and make it 50-50 with the truth. So that's the heart of the problem, not this interview, which I think is super interesting and very revealing of the degree to of the insanity of Rudy Giuliani.
I know, but look, I obviously don't know Olivia Nuzzi personally, right? So this isn't about her specifically. It's a broader statement about mainstream press, people who work in legacy media. Getting the interview is actually part of the problem, right? Because they want the interviews. They don't want to do anything valuable with the interviews. They don't want to do the follow-up because doing the follow-up means that this lunatic might deny you an interview in the future.
But that's
so that's why they don't do anything with it. And you're not, look.
No, but that's totally unfair to Olivia that she's the one who got the interview and did a really, really hard interview.
Like I said, this isn't about her, right?
Right.
But okay, so she does an interview that's very similar to what we've seen on cable news over and over and over again. It's just that this time he gave different lunatic answers. Okay, but who in the media is ever really gonna hold Rudy Giuliani accountable?
That's the question.
I've actually seen cable news hosts, people on Fox News, give Rudy Giuliani tougher follow-up questions than the so-called neutral arbiters of like what's going on in the political world, okay?
No, but the thing is, look, we agree, and I want to give the rest of the quotes because they're also amazing. Like the press thinks they're being tough on Trump and his allies. They're not. They're giving a total free pass to all of the Republicans that are backing these insane conspiracy theories about how Ukraine interfered in our elections, etc. Every time somebody says that, they've got all of the press in unison has to say that is not true. That Republican is lying, but they don't have the courage to say that. They say it about Trump. It's easy to say, oh, Rudy's crazy, but Rudy's theories are the ones that all the Republican Party are parroting today. So the minute they parrot it, you could go back to this article or any interview he's ever given and go, you're quoting an absolute lunatic, but they won't have the courage to do it. I guarantee you they won't have the courage to do it. And instead they won't give you the proper context. And then it'll seem like, well, some people think the Russians did it and other things that the Ukrainians did it. So anyway, let's give you more about the rest of the quotes.
So Giuliani reads his own press and sees that his friends, these sources close to him, are being weaponized by the conspirators, helping to paint a public portrait of a man unglued. These are the same concerned people who have told him to be careful with his legacy. And my attitude about my legacy is F it, he said.
Okay, well, that seems clear. At least that one's definitely true. That does appear to be what he's doing. My legacy, nah.
So when you read the piece, there's a lot of just important contextual information, and it talks about what his state of mind is like when it comes to his own paranoia, trusting people around him. And so he makes it clear that he's skeptical of people and he's paranoid and he doesn't trust everyone. And so he's asked like, okay, well, if you're not trusting of people, why were you willing to work with these shady Ukrainian figures, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman? And so here's what he said about them. They look like Miami people. He continues, I know a lot of Miami people that look like that are perfectly legitimate and act like them. Neither one of them have ever been convicted of a crime, neither one. And generally, that's my cutoff point. That's all it takes, I guess.
What? Does anybody know what the hell he's talking about? I lived in Miami. I don't know what he's talking about. What do Miami people look like? The Miami people don't look like that. Okay, I've seen Miami people. They don't look like that. Okay, so what do Miami people look like and what does that mean? So are Miami people shady looking? I guess I'm drawing inferences from what Giuliani is saying. They're shady looking, but they're actually super clean?
Yeah, you're right. I think what he's saying is they look like normal people, like they don't look like they'd be criminals. So, and they hadn't been convicted of a crime, so yeah, why wouldn't I work with them? I think that's what he's trying to say.
No, I actually think Miami, like no one thinks that like, oh, because of Miami Vice, and do you see what I'm saying? No one thinks like, oh, wholesome people are in Miami, right or wrong. And I think it's probably wrong, but Like if you're saying wholesome, usually popular lore has it as like Kansas or something like that, right? Again, right or wrong. For Miami, like Miami people are shady. But
I didn't even think about it like that because my mind didn't even go there. I think of Miami people and I think like normal people. Like I don't think about criminality or anything.
No.
This guy's insane. Anyway, God. Okay.
All right, but I'm gonna quote Miami people for a long time now. That guy looks Miami, but he could be Kansas.
That's hilarious. All right, well, let me give you more. So look, there have been Giuliani associates, even his ex-wife, who have said that he is struggling with some substance abuse problems, namely alcoholism. That's what the ex-wife is saying. Obviously, we don't have any way of confirming that. However, that was touched upon in this interview. And so Giuliani says, oh yeah, I do a lot of drugs. There was one I was addicted to. I've forgotten what it is. I don't know where the drugs things comes from. I really don't. The alcohol comes from the fact that I did occasionally drink. I love scotch. Sorry, I just had like a Ron Burgundy flashback.
Yeah.
I love scotch. I can't help it. All of the malts, all parts of it is cigars. I love to have them with cigars. I'm a partier.
Okay. And he also said it tastes so good when it hits the lips. Okay. And then added, is anyone going streaking? Okay. Okay, I'm kidding. Those are from different Will Ferrell movies. All right, and speaking of kidding, really important. The drug part is sarcastic. He does not mean he does a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Olivia Nuzzi said it was sarcastic. It is clearly sarcastic. The alcohol part appears to not be sarcastic. He does say, I actually love scotch. I get that one. You heard the quotes for yourself just now. So, okay, he seems to enjoy alcohol, which apparently he did either during or after or before this interview as well, because she then noticed that, do you have that quote?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, let's read
the
that.
one about his like stuff, the lips.
Yeah. Speaking of when it hits the lips.
God, gross. Okay, so okay, here it is. As he spoke, he fixed his gaze straight ahead, rarely turning to make eye contact. When his mouth closed, saliva leaked from the corner and crawled down his face through the valley of a wrinkle. He didn't notice, and it fell onto his sweater.
Oh man, look, that's devastating. But at the same time, guys, it is, look, to me, if that was the only thing in the article, then I'd say it's wildly unfair, right? Because we weren't there, we don't know what was that because he was drinking or not drinking, etc. But given the context of all the other things he's saying, that then becomes the most believable thing you've ever heard in your life. I mean, going around, Soros has people that work for him at the FBI and is not a Jew, and the Miami people and the Sacramento people. There were no Sacramento people. Okay, so, but all right, last two things here. David Holmes is the diplomat that overheard Gordon Sondland talking to Trump. He testified about it. It was really important because it connects Trump to withholding the aid in Ukraine. He said about Holmes, and none of this is true, so I don't want to help his scandalous and libelous and slanderous behavior, etc. But it gives you a sense of his mindset. He said that guy that overheard that telephone phone call, anybody check if the guy has an earpiece? Maybe he didn't have it. How old is he? How old is that guy? He's middle-aged, totally normal. Anyway, here's the crazy part. How do we know he isn't a paranoid schizophrenic? How do we know he isn't an alcoholic?
Jesus Christ.
Because no one has ever charged that at all, and there's no evidence of it even remotely. But by the way, said the guy who people are worried is lost his mind and might be an alcoholic. All the Republicans ever do is projection, right? So, but smearing people that are career diplomats that worked in the Trump administration, no hesitation at all. Who cares? We're smearing everybody, right? Why not? I'm surprised he didn't call him a Miami person. Okay, and the last thing is, they're now driving in Giuliani's SUV. Giuliani sees this couple on a bench, and he's like, see, back when I was mayor, we would have cleaned that up. So look at those poor homeless people. And he didn't mean it in a bad way. He's like, we would have gotten them help. I would have called in, hey, that's fifth between 70. He's like, 75, 76, he can't tell. It doesn't matter, it's not important. Okay, and Nuzzi says at the end, the couple on the bench did not appear to be homeless. I mean, man.
Look, okay, forget the media, right? Like I have zero faith left in mainstream media, okay? So forget about them for a second. Let's think about Democratic leadership for a second and how they have single-handedly bungled this impeachment process, right? We've talked about it over and over again on the show, but if I were Democratic leadership, you know what I would do with an article like this? I would put it in my back pocket arsenal to attack Republican senators who vote in favor of exonerating Donald Trump, right? I would be like, oh, I would have a non-stop campaign against those Republican senators. They're enabling a criminal. Look at the kind of nonsense, look at the kind of substance abusing lunatic our criminal president had hired as his personal attorney, and you have Republican senators enabling that. This is the leader of the free world. This is the most powerful man in the world, and this is what he's doing. This is the kind of person he employs. Like, how come they don't understand how to play hardball? Why? Why?
Well, they do with progressives, but it is incredible how soft and weak the Democrats are when it comes to Republicans. The president's last lawyer is sitting in jail for a crime that he committed with the president.
Yep.
And they didn't even charge him of that.
Right.
And now his new lawyer, who is not his former lawyer, this is the president's current lawyer, is a clear raving lunatic. And yet we're having legitimate conversations about whether Trump is right or he's wrong. No, they're totally mentally unbalanced. They should have been talking about the 25th Amendment, even if you didn't believe it. And I very much believe that the 25th Amendment should have been used earlier. I think the president is totally mentally unbalanced. Okay, but even if you didn't believe that politically, you should have been talking about that because the guy's insane. Stop treating him like he's legitimate. And maybe you could have won any of these. My God, they're losing public debates from time to time to a guy who has lost his mind and who has a lawyer who's even dumber than he is. They're losing to Dumb and Dumber. This is a damning testament to Rudy Giuliani, to Donald Trump, who has hired him and still maintains that he's his personal lawyer through all of this insanity. But it's also a damning indictment of the Democratic Party that they haven't put these guys away yet.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we have more updates on the impeachment process, including emails that make it clear that Donald Trump did withhold the aid to do exactly what he was impeached for. So we'll be right back with that and more.
We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back in the Young Turks. First, comments on Anna and the hoodie. Rainbow Bright says, Anna looks like a suburban weed dealer.
Yes.
That's hilarious. Back when she had
my alter ego.
That's right. I can see that. Or your next job.
No, I don't want to do that. You should watch High Maintenance on HBO though. It's like one of my favorite shows. It's on break right now. They're working on the new season, but it's such a good show to watch while you're high.
Well, that makes sense.
Or when you're sober, it's a good show, period.
Okay, so that's of course when she had her great hoodie on. Shop tyt.com to get yours. Speaking of which, Marijuana's #3 fan writes in, very modest by the way. I was going to get some games on the Steam winter sale, but Anna sold me on the hoodie with the thumb holes. Hashtag pocket in a pocket.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I do with that little pocket? I put my key in it. When I go
thought
hiking,
for sure you were going to say put my weed in it.
No. No, but I put my key in it so I never lose my key. If you put it in the big pocket, you run the risk of possibly maybe tilting in the wrong way and then it falls out. But that little pocket keeps it secure. I love that little pocket. Yeah, no, look, there's two main things we're getting out of today's show. Pocket in a pocket and Miami people. Okay, speaking of which, let's go to Giuliani. Steppenwolf asks, Giuliani? Okay, I don't know about that, guys. So Halia says, and I don't know if she's Jewish or not, but she says Giuliani's not more Jewish than Soros, but for sure is more Jewish than Stephen Miller. Ouch. Okay, Eclectic Miss Chilani actually makes the best point, and I'm sorry I forgot to make it during the segment. He says, I'm not sure how they do it, but the GOP somehow keeps managing to find new ways to be anti-Semitic. Giuliani claims he's more Jewish than a Holocaust survivor. It's just about as low as you can go. He's not just a horrible politician, but a horrible human being. Yep.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, Soros is a Holocaust survivor. Jesus Christ. Wow. They have no bounds at all, at all. All right, let's end on a fun note. Lots of folks on YouTube super chat, and we deeply appreciate it, everybody. Please use that to get us your comments. Just time for Bjorn Eric Knudsen to say, wish you a happy new year. You too, brother, and a Merry Christmas.
By the way, Cenk, climate stuff.
Yes, I gotta tell you that. Okay, sorry. All right, so recently we had a poll for everybody that gave money for the climate town hall that we want to do. As you know, that proved to be too difficult to put together the presidential candidates because it was actually gonna be a debate. But the DNC won't allow it. We tried to get past it, but couldn't. So we then gave you two options. We're trying to do our best. We said money in politics town hall instead of climate change or climate change reporter. And we had the people who gave money vote on it, and a lot of you voted on it. So thank you for participating. We do this show together. You voted, I don't know if it's a small margin or not, 55-45. I think that's pretty close for money in politics town hall. So we then tried that. Now, the problem is there's actually a couple of issues. It started out spectacularly. We didn't tell you yet that that had won, but when we saw when it's won and we started going right away, we got some great moderators. Professor Larry Lessig from Harvard, the godfather of the movement, getting money out of politics. He said yes to being a moderator. He's awesome as always. And there's a lot of great groups that work on this issue, and we're working on getting them. But then a couple things happened. One is that some events made it harder for presidential candidates to work with something we're putting together, okay? It is what it is, okay? And then the window is narrowing because now we got the primaries and the caucus coming up. And since the candidates and all those debates got added onto the schedule, with all of that, it became very difficult to put together a money in politics town hall. We're not totally giving up on it. So if we can do it at a later time, great. We'll come bring it back to you guys. See if you still want to do it or not. It's always up to you guys as to whether you want to finance it, et cetera, right? So, but it did leave us after great effort on our by us, especially the folks that you don't see on camera working so hard on this, to leading to the conclusion that it's got to be a climate change journalist. So we're going to call it Climate Investigative Journalism Project. And but guys, I got to tell you, I'm super excited by this because look at what happened with the wine cave. So all of a sudden, Elizabeth Warren mentions the wine cave that Pete Buttigieg was in while doing the fundraising, and now all of a sudden we're having a conversation about money in politics. The reason why that's so important for climate change is because the reporter that we asked you guys about. That was one of the top options that you guys wanted, and that we're now going to actually do, is going to focus on the money in politics aspect of climate change. Because who in the wine cave is asking, maybe works for the fossil fuel industry, is asking people not to do the Green New Deal. Now that we finally have reporters paying attention to, hey, who's funding these guys? Which I thought, like, of course. Now to get a reporter that focuses on that and says, and by the way, we'll get it to our allies in Congress. Every time they're having a vote on anything related to climate change, who is getting funded by the fossil fuel industry? How much money did they take? What about the think tanks that work on that? The so-called scientists, how much money are they being paid? No one focuses on this specific project, and I'm psyched that we're gonna be able to do that thanks to you guys. Now look, it's gonna be a lengthy project and a significant one. We got to about $162,000. We need $200,000 to finish this off. So the URL is tyt.com/climate. So tyt.com/climate. I'd love to get to that before the end of the year. It's not a lot of money left. I mean, of course, it's always a lot of money, but we do it, $20 at a time, $5 at a time, whatever you can do it. As soon as that's done, we hire the reporter and we're off to the races, holding all the presidential candidates accountable, but everybody in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, accountable. I love doing this with you guys. Thank you for your patience through all of this as we've tried so many different things here to get to the right answer, but I think we have arrived at the right answer. And I think that as we do this, we can amplify it both through other media and folks in Congress. So tyt.com/climate. Let's get to 200K and get started right away. Remember, we paused earlier because we didn't want to take more money until we knew exactly what we're doing. So now we can finish up the rest of the 200K. Thank you guys. All right, What's next?
All right, so we have some damning updates to the impeachment investigation. The Center for Public Integrity won a Freedom of Information Act request, and they obtained emails that were sent by Mike Duffy. He's with the White House Office of Management and Budget, and in the emails, it's very clear that Donald Trump not only withheld the military aid to Ukraine as he awaited an announcement into an investigation into Joe Biden, but it makes clear that there were some shady intentions here. So let me give you the details. So the first interesting tidbit we found is that President Trump apparently saw a June 19th Washington Examiner article discussing the congressionally approved military aid for Ukraine totaling $250 million. So he sees the article. Let's take a quick look. And there it is, Pentagon to spend $250 million in weapons to Ukraine. So Mike Duffy with the White House Office of Management and Budget says the president has asked about the funding release in an email, right? So basically this means that it was Trump who asked about that military aid and directed people on what to do with it. So this is important to keep in mind. This email by Duffy was sent 6 days before the call that Trump had with Vladimir Zelensky. Now here's the second tidbit that we've learned through the release of these emails. The rough transcript released by the White House lists the call as taking place between 9:03 and 9:33 in the morning. Then at 11:04 a.m., a little more than an hour later, Duffy sent an email to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, David Norquist, and to the Chief of Staff to the Defense Secretary and the Pentagon's Chief Financial Officer telling them to hold the aid.
So that is 91 minutes after the call is over. So an hour and a half later, they're like, now the president said, do me a favor and investigate Biden, right? 90 minutes later, they turn around and go, hold the aid. Why? Because they're waiting to see if that favor gets done for the president.
Right, so I wanna make a quick clarification because I wanna make sure we're accurate and everything, even though it's a story about Trump. Obviously, I dislike Trump to a great extent, but I wanna be accurate. When Trump said that he wanted Zelensky to do a favor, that was in regard to the CrowdStrike server. Right?
Yeah, it is still about his campaign.
Yes.
And that's the crazier conspiracy theory regarding how Ukraine has a server that doesn't exist that holds the DNC emails, but it is definitely still about a political campaign. Later in the call, he talks about Joe and Hunter Biden.
Exactly, yes. Okay, so let me give you more. Again, this is from Mike Duffy, the official from the Office of Management and Budget. In the email, he says, based on guidance I have received, and in light of the administration's plan to review assistance to Ukraine, including the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, please hold off on any additional Department of Defense obligations of these funds pending direction from that process.
So there is no question at all that they hold the funds right after the call with Donald Trump. That is the main call in question here, where he appears to be asking for 2 political favors from the president of Ukraine. And remember on the call, Zelensky asked about the military aid. So that was brought up in the call. And then after the call, Trump's team sends a note saying, don't give him the aid yet. We're waiting on something.
Right.
Now wait till you get a load of what they say next.
This is where it gets juicy, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously Duffy saw this as problematic, and he makes that clear in his email correspondence. So he says, given the sensitive nature of the request, I appreciate your keeping that information closely held to those who need to know to execute direction.
If there was a perfect call, why do you need to keep it secret? You should be trumpeting it to everyone who'll hear. Oh my God, did you guys hear the president made a perfect call? I gotta go tell everybody. No, he knows that it's wrong.
Yes.
He says, hold the aid, but don't tell anyone. Now remember, according to the law, Congress already passed that aid. It must go to Ukraine. There is no legitimate reason to hold that aid at all. And so the president on the call, without any legitimate reason, then says, hey, I want these political favors. And then after the call says, hold the aid. And then the guy writing that order says, now remember, keep it secret because this is really, really sensitive. It's the most obvious thing in the world. No, if this wasn't political and there wasn't partisanship of Republicans and Democrats, and the Republicans weren't a party now filled 100% with liars, this would not be an issue at all. Every rational and neutral or an objective person that reads that goes, oh, obviously he held up the AIDE. It's a fact. He held up the AIDE and asked for political favors. That is totally and utterly illegal. And the guy should be gone already. But instead, here we are at 50-50 because no one cares about the truth anymore.
So Schumer addressed these emails immediately after they became public, and I want to give you his statements. He said, if there was ever an argument that we need Mr. Duffy to come testify, this is that information. This email is explosive. Until we hear from the witnesses, until we get the documents, the American people will correctly assume that those blocking their testimony were aiding and abetting a cover-up, plain and simple. So I'll close by saying this. President Trump released the emails, let the witnesses testify. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, so I gotta say two things here. One is, great job by the Center for Public Integrity in using a Freedom of Information request to get this information that the American public has a right to know. So wonderful job in unearthing it, and arguably in the nick of time, which leads me to my second point. Now the House has closed their impeachment investigation, voted to impeach Donald Trump on 2 articles, but they have not yet sent it to the Senate. The reason they haven't sent it is because in the Senate, McConnell says, I'm not gonna call any witnesses. I'm just gonna say, okay, Donald Trump, you were impeached, we acquit, and we're done with it, okay? And the Democrats are trying to negotiate to get witnesses that are called during that trial. That's the actual trial part. Impeachment is just saying, we think he did it, so we're sending it over to the Senate for a trial. Now, I think that the Democrats, until this letter, had no leverage at all. And so I thought it was a terrible strategy. We talked about it at length on Friday's show, okay? But now we're in a new situation. So here's a letter from the guy who held up the AIDE, who said, keep it secret, it's really bad, right? So you heard the exact quotes yourself a minute ago. So if I was the Democrats, I would reopen the hearings and say, hey, you know what? Maybe you guys are right. Maybe we should do more articles of impeachment. Well, I don't know yet. Well, we got to get more witnesses, because otherwise, if the Republicans say they're not going to call Duffy, we have no choice. We have to call Duffy. And maybe we'll call more and more witnesses and add extra articles of impeachment.
Okay.
So if you do that, that creates leverage. So then the Republicans might actually negotiate, go out there. Yeah, maybe we'll call a couple of witnesses.
That's fascinating. Okay, so I must say, like, as you started saying that this changes everything and now Democrats might have leverage, I rolled my eyes because I was like, they don't have leverage. Doesn't matter if like Donald Trump is on camera, caught on tape saying, yeah, I withheld the funds because I wanted political favors so I can help my reelection. Like, Republicans are still gonna support him, they're still gonna vote to exonerate him. However, this whole thing with the House reopening the hearings, that is juicy, and they totally should do that. I think that's a really good play. I don't know if they have the, I guess, courage, for lack of a better word, to actually do that. But here's a little piece of information that kind of reinforces your strategy here. Today, Mitch McConnell told reporters, he's like, no, I'm open to having witnesses testify. Remember, at first he didn't want any witnesses. He just wanted it to be like done immediately, right? Let's just exonerate him. Now all of a sudden he's like open to having witnesses. And I don't trust him, I don't believe him. He's not an honest person. He's all about, vote counting and making sure he looks out for his own party. However, maybe he sees this as a potential, bargaining chip for Democrats.
Yeah, it's possible that McConnell will do the first thing you mentioned, which is like, oh, okay, we might call witnesses. Oh, you sent the articles over? Just kidding. I was lying as always. We're not gonna call any witnesses. We're gonna acquit him in 2 days, right? Or maybe he sees this, but I doubt it, Anna, honestly, because McConnell would have to think that the Democrats are smart, right? And I'm
not sure I believe that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure McConnell believes that. But if they were smart, they would threaten to reopen more articles of impeachment now that we have more damning testimony and witnesses.
I don't understand people in positions of power who can actually, like, they can be salty and they can act on that salt, right? Like they can actually do something. They can hold people accountable. That is like the dream, and they're not doing it. It's so frustrating to see it day after day. Anyway, all right, well, we gotta take a break, but before we do that, I just wanted to give you a quick programming note. So for our members, we film all sorts of exclusive members only content. One of my favorite specials that we do every year now is called Hostmates. It's just a fun game show that we do. Really great high production value to that show. We have a really good time. And it's dramatic, okay? Who's gonna win? Is it the OGs or the newbies? And so on Friday, it will be streaming for our members. Go to tyt.com/join if you're not a member, and you can become one and you get all this awesome exclusive content. And again, this Friday, you can look forward to Hostmates streaming.
And before we show you that in the basically commercials, remember, if you're on YouTube, you can go to our website, tyt.com/join, and get all the videos. Or you could click on the little blue button that says join underneath the videos if you're watching on YouTube. And so there you've got a couple of different options. One as low as just $1.99 a month just to support the show. And you get badges so we know that you're a supporter of the show when we read your comments. But you can go all the way up to the top level where you get all of the membership videos. So make sure you check that out as well, and it's really simple to do. All right, now you get a little piece of Hostmates, and we'll be back.